Hello, everyone. Welcome to Read2Me. My name is Ian Roya, and I'm a writer, among other things. And I'm here with one of my best friends, Shannon.
Hi guys, my name is Shannon Hutchinson. I am a pilot with Caribbean Airlines and I'm also an artist among many other things. And of course, and I am here with my best friend Ian.
I have I have one of Shannon's pieces is on my wall, which is one of my favorites of one of my puppies that passed away, but he's very dear to me.
Oh yeah, that's right. And I'm staging in front of one of my paintings, very large landscape from home. Yeah, so we thought that was kind of cute. I love that one of my paintings is in your background as well. That's perfect.
We want to thank Priya Gomez and Adrian Don Mora for telling this beautiful story. It's called The Last Giant, and it's by Mr. Mohammed Muakil, who's on here, and Yanu's Child on Instagram. Yeah, I just saw he joined the live.
Yeah, hi. So, you guys, half of the story was actually read by Priya and Adrian last night. So Ian and I are going to be starting from page 10, and we're going to be sharing the reading tonight for you guys, for you kids at home, as a bedtime story.
Yeah, so if you missed the story last night or you need to remember where Priya and Adrian left off, The Last Giant was written by Mr. Muhammad Muakil, and it tells the story of a young boy named Sata. Sata has just lost his village and his family to pirates. In deep despair, he threw himself into the ocean, and at the bottom of the ocean, he met two mystical giants, one man and one woman. And they decided to test him to see if he was worthy of their help to save his village. The first test was to chain a huge lion to a stone that he himself was chained to, and Sata showed his skill with his mind and his gift of tongue, and he got the lion to undo his chains and strap himself onto this stone. And the second test was to hold the light of the stars in his hands, and he asked the giants to grant him the gift of speech to animals and all things under heaven. And with that gift, and with the help of some creatures, he charmed some of the stars to fall to earth, because in this world, the stars are sentient. And thus he passed his second test. And Priya and Adrian left off where our hero Sata is on a mountaintop with the female giant for his next test, where he's challenged to make himself. And I'm going to let Shannon pick up from where we left off. So follow along.
Thanks. Thank you so much for the recap. So, Sata thought for a while. He looked up and swore for a moment that the North Star was gazing down on him intensely. Gazing back, Sata shouted, "What am I?" The North Star drew back quickly, the fiasco of the throne still fresh in its memory, and with that all the stars withdrew far enough from the earth not to be seen. "We won't be tricked again," they said. The night became pitch black. Sata stood in the bleak day and searched the sky. The stars were the oldest watchers. They would know how man was made. Out of the corner of his eye, Sata glimpsed the tiniest light approaching quickly to rest on the edge of the arena. "More light to you, Sata. I am the oldest," the light beamed. "The oldest what?" Sata asked. "The oldest light and guide your kind. The lights have all grown vain and forgotten that we were made only to give. I want to help you, Sata. I wanted as you people were taken." "Then tell me what I am," Sata said. "Please, old light." The star drew closer and asked, "First, tell me, where do you live?" "I live on Earth," Sata replied. "And I live in the sky," you would say, "yes? And when you dream, or I dream, where do we live then?" The star asked, beginning to reveal the glowing face of a very old man. "In our hearts?" Sata half said, half asked. "Good, good," the star laughed. "And where in the meeting point of these two places, what is the only thing that says the same, that stays the same?" Sata thought. "I don't know, old light," Sata said. "Time, Sata. Time is the thing we live in, the river of time. A great river of light appears to run across the night sky. Every man is four things, Sata. Firstly, a man is what he was. Each of your race is a collection of each one that came before him, so you must collect all that you were, the old star said. Yeah.
Bring me all that I was. And with that, an ever-winding circle of jars spread from around Sata outwards as far as he could see. Jars filled with all sorts of items, feathers, bits of red earth, iron, crushed bone, jewels, blood, and mist. Sata marveled at the multitude of things. Secondly, the star resumed, a man is what he is, and that is easy enough to understand. Bring me all that I am. Another circle of jars as wide as the first stacked on top of the previous. Sata stood up with the jars reaching just above his head. He jumped up to look. The stars stretched as far as he could see. Thirdly, a man is what he will be. As far as your destiny, which is written on your heart, tongue, and under your feet stretches down the river of time. You must collect all that you will be. Bring me all I will be. A third circle, and now Sata could not see as the jars stuck high above him. What is the fourth thing I am, old father star? Sata shouted, his voice echoing off the jars. There was a brief silence, and then Sata saw the old star rising over the rim of the hole of jars. What is the fourth, old light? The star turned from Sata, gazing upon the horizon of jars. Along his back, Sata saw an infinity of broken clocks, their hands stilled and did not caress their faces. The fourth, yes, the fourth. Sata, how do you think you beat the lion? I beat him because he thought me insignificant. But how did you think to get him to chain himself? I knew I had to trick him with my mind. It's that easy for you. You think of a way and your mind shows you. Yes. Well, that is now your downfall. The fourth thing and the greatest thing is a man is that which he can conceive. His imagination, Sata. Anything you think of. Be careful what you next request, the old star said, fleeing to the sky again. Be careful, Sata. Without waiting to think, Sata said, bring me everything I can imagine.
Sata felt a small jar pop out of the earth under his feet. The jar was not the shape of the others. It was rounded with a small opening on the top. The jar cracked and opened up like a rose, and out came another jar, and another, and another, until a mound of jars began to swell beneath Sata. First, Sata passed the clouds, the mountain, and the circles of past, present, and future became a blur. Sata passed the moon, who landed beneath. He flew past the stars, north, and the old light. Be careful, Sata, the old one repeated. The mountain of jars just kept growing. Sata was sure they had overrun the earth. Up, up, up he went until abruptly he stopped. He opened his eyes cautiously and saw that the mountain top he had been standing on was now above him, hanging from the ceiling of a massive cave. There were jars all around him. The jars were everywhere. Jars of gold and jars of starlight, jars of cobwebs and eyes and bits of grass, jars of unnamed things that bubbled and squeaked, jars of watches and candles. A universe of jars, Sata marveled. Then he remembered his task. I cannot assemble a single creature from all of this and match it to my proportions. He looked at his hands, flexing his fingers. I wouldn't even know where to start, really. This is a trick, a fool's mission. For the first time, Sata felt helpless. 1,000 candles lit at once, and Sata heard a voice say, "Are you finished? Can you do it?" The voice spoke from within every jar and as well as far across the room. It was the woman. "Well, you have a bit of every bit that is possible to have bits of. Are you finished? What do you say?" Tears rolled down from Sata's eyes. He thought of his mother. Strangely, he thought of the lion and the stars. And now they had both been caught, and he became angry. "No, I cannot," he grimaced through the tears. "But you knew that already. I realized something as I was shooting upward or downward. I don't know now," he said, glancing up at the mountaintop above his head, suspended upside down. "I couldn't control my breathing, and I almost passed out. It was then I realized that even if I could create a physical me, where would I get my breath from? The breath of life, what is it made of? The wind, I thought, but I have seen sails filled with wind, yet boats are not alive. I couldn't imagine it, and that's when the jars stopped coming. So you have me. I cannot complete this task. Whoever is sending these jars knows a secret I don't know. You win." Sata resigned, tears streaming down his face, the resolve leaving his body. He slumped over, sobbing silently.
"Stand up, Sata," the woman said. "Stop crying and look at me." Sata dried his eyes and stood. He found that the stage had again changed, and he was now at the center of a circle of gigantic feet, which belonged to gigantic legs, and up until he saw knees and the clouds. The giants stood motionless, their hands at their sides. The night was cold, and Sata shivered. Man had appeared, covered in fine white dust from shoulder to neck. "Did he figure it out?" he asked the woman who sat on the big toe of a nearby giant, her head in her lap wrapped in a crown of leaves, of living roots which moved so slightly that you might not notice if you did not look closely. "No, he hasn't," said the woman. Sata addressed them both, the defeat clear in his tone. "I already told you. I know now it was all set up. You tricked me from the beginning. No man can imagine what the breath of life is made of. No man can make himself entirely. There are some things that no amount of knowing can know." Sata concluded, resolved now to face his end. The earth around them began to rumble, and a light bombarded his sight, even through his closed eyelids. The ground shook violently, and Sata could feel the wind pick up, and with a thundering howl, sand blew and stung his face. Sata squeezed his eyes shut and clenched his jaw in anticipation. Every muscle in his body tightened. Then he heard the woman's laugh, and then, much to his surprise, she began to cry. Deep sobs mixed with her wild laughter. "Sata, you beautiful heart, open your eyes and look at what you've done. Look! Should I tell you? What would you not believe even if I did? Can I tell you that even you are being waited upon? Your greatness a key to open an untold door. Can I tell you that the universe wants to grow and will not, cannot, without this key that you were given? Can I tell you that Sata opened his eyes to find the giants kneeling before him? Their massive eyes were all small galaxies. Their pupils were fiery, orange suns turning furiously about their business. Their chests were translucent, revealing hearts that were black oceans of blue and red stars. Their veins, currents of space. They kneeled still and stared at Sata.
The stars too had come down, kneeled, and ringed the giants, circled, throwing light on their backs, casting a dark shadow onto where Sata stood. The lion stood next to one giant and seemed to have grown in size 10 times over. Freed of his chains, he roared and bowed low to Sata. Sata prostrated before them all, and as he did so, woman laughed more loudly. What is all this? Sata asked. This is honor, man head and woman said. This is where it all began for your kind. This is what the heart of man knows of surety. This is all that is left when we realize what we truly are. I can only hope you can understand this enigma. Sata, you have done it. You have been the very end. You've been to the very end and back. You've confronted death itself by defeating the great lion Komu twice over. You have used the fire of vanity to catch the living lights of unawares. And now you have bested your own self by being humble enough to know that even when it seems that anything can be achieved, there are some things that are simply beyond reach, and there is no shame in that. Sata, that for your kind is the key to everything. Ask, Sata, ask now for that which you do not yet have the words to ask for. Another riddle, Sata thought, still marveling at all that now surrounded him. He sat in silence and closed his eyes. When he reopened them, he spoke slowly and in measured words. I have seen the evil of men. I know the love of a mother. I wish only to protect the weak. Leave me with the gifts you have given and show me the way to my people. That is all I require.
He asked for no riches or fame, no castle, no mountain of silver. He is different. Man had pondered. I told you so, the woman beamed. I like this one. Sata looked up at the giants who had by now taken to their feet once more. I have two more questions, he stated, addressing man, head, and woman. Because I sense that whatever all this is, I'm about to be sent away from it. Man, head, and woman had looked at each other and beamed, still marveling at this boy. Who are these giants? Every star is born from their hearts, Sata, every galaxy in their veins. The universe widens with their every breath. If human destiny is written in the skies, they are the pen and the hand, man had said. No two fingers linked of lovers' hands, but they brought them together, Sata. No drop of blood spilled in battle, but they first planted the seed of war in the hearts of kings. They calculated all. They are what men call chaos, woman mused. Can I become one of them? Sata asked very matter-of-factly. A long pause from man and woman, and then finally a laugh so loud from her mouth that Sata felt something exploded in his mind. The loudest sound he ever heard. In truth, he was not sure if he had heard something or been hit in the head so hard that he'd gone blind. Had he gone blind or moved again to a place where he was only dark? Was there no light, or the light so bright that he had no sense to perceive it? Metal in the mouth, no words to describe the taste of an iron fist widening faster than he could scream, and in the turmoil and tumble, sand and salt and gash, blood. The woman's laughter subsided in his head, and a voice much like the old stars said, Look. And there before Sata's journey past, the village, the lions, the stars, the giants. How long have we been here? The voice asked. Not more than 3 days and 4 nights. Certainly not more than a fortnight, Sata replied. The woman erupted in laughter and sobbing again. Look again, the old voice assured. He saw clearly the faces of his mother, the other village women. He knew most of them. Young, smooth skin, full of joy, and as he watched their faces grew older, circles darkened and widened under their eyes, and just when it seemed like they might fade, they grew young again and glowed with a soft, simple light.
As this happened, 100 small boys and girls appeared behind the woman and grew quickly through puberty into men and women, and they too grew old and young again and glowed with the same simple light. Behind them, thousands came and followed the same pattern, each one from birth to old age to rebirth until nations mixed. All races and creeds stood before him. Types of people he had never even seen, some with green eyes and pale skin, some short, some tall, and on they went until Sata became aware suddenly that the progression had slowed. "How long have you been here?" came the old voice again. Sata gazed out on the sea of bodies horizoned in front of him. "I cannot know," he said. "I don't know how many there are." "Do you wish to know them all at once?" Sata knew the question weighed far more than the sum of its words. He paused to think. Raising his head slowly, he looked out upon the mass and breathed deeply. And as he breathed, they all drew a collective breath, pulling the clouds down from the night sky, exposing the stars who had all come close to witness. This time they did not flee. Sata exhaled, and a mist of clouds returned from their lungs into the skies all at once. "Yes," he said, "I wish to know them all at once."
Stop!
Stop! You stop! No, you go ahead.
Stop, woman said, floating in on the moon. She was dressed in shimmering gold from head to toe. One foot tucked up under her, the other dangled in the air. Her head balancing on her right shoulder, sported a forest in autumn for a crown. Its leaves were golden yellow and auburn. On her lap she stroked the great lion Kumu, like a house cat, and he purred and slept just the same. Before you speak, listen, for after this I will be of little concern to you. Of the giants there are 6. You desire to be the 7th, to stand as a bridge between all that was and all that wants to be. Remember the great lion Kumu. Kumu rose and yawned. 4 unclaimed souls escaped from his jaws, and he went bounding off her lap, chasing them into the dark sky. Death is always busy. Life must be more busy, or all is lost. Remember the stars and their vanity. Do not stand in wonder of your own miracles for too long. You may forget that there are always more wonders to perform, and so cheat the world of your true gift. Man had walked in, and his entire body covered in oceans. Great whales surfaced to breathe on his shoulder. He shook himself violently, and the water flew out eventually, coming to form a round planet in front of him. He shifted it closer to the sun and spoke. And remember the jars, Sata. Remember that no being understands everything, and to truly know is to know that there always exists the unknown. And it is from this that all else springs, life upon life from what seemed life nothing at all. Man and woman stood close to each other, and a treasure of stars joined them, covering them in a glow. Between all that was and all that wants to be, that is where you stand alone, Sata. Now breathe deeply. Tomorrow grows impatient. And every breath that he drew grew him taller. If I told you, you might think that a lie. Till he was dusting the stars off his shoulders, looking down on mankind from the sky. Every tear that they cried, he could feel it. Every win, every loss, every war, every language alive had meaning. Everything that no words could endure. And around him stood 6, just as mightily, just as wise, just as bold, just as strong. And here among the stars they stood nightly, ruling all from the sky to the ground. The first was of love, the second of hope, the third was of peace full of light. 4, 5, and 6 were a terrible mix of indifference, of war, of strife. Using stars as their ink, the night as their scroll, they wrote down what was and would be. Order above is chaos below. We do not understand what we see. Now Sata is one. We are safe now. I know. We are bold. We are string. We are free. But order above is chaos below. We do not understand what we see.
That was beautiful. That was
It's a
really
beautiful
beautiful.
story. Yeah.
I feel like I've been swimming in an impressionist or surreal painting for half an hour
Yeah.
with you and everyone that's listening with us.
It's one thing I was excited when I saw this story come up because I've worked around Muhammad, and he's a powerful orator and storyteller.
Mhm.
And it's present in his words and what he was able to create in such a short time. This is a beautiful story.
Thank you so much, Mohammed. I'm a huge fan, actually. I'm kind of fangirling a little when I saw that this is what we were reading tonight. So I really appreciate that we were given such a huge honor.
Well, we're at an end of story time, and I just wanted to say all the kids that are watching and the adults, please, I think one of the things that we need to do is play our part in this crisis so that we can get outside, that we can get around each other. Do these simple things. Stay at home, go out only when necessary, wash your hands when you come in, and be safe and stick to the rules of social distancing.
Stay home, stay safe, and save lives. Please stay home, and kids, wash your hands. Wash your hands. I think it's for 20, I was going to say 20 minutes, 20 seconds, which is, so when you're washing your hands, sing happy birthday twice, and that is 20 seconds. And you can make a game of it with your brothers and sisters, with your mom and dad at home. Try to help as much as you can.
My
Sanitizing things and washing things down.
my song is Nyla Blackman's Workout because I feel like I'm giving my hands a little work. Give it to me now, workout.
Yeah. There are actually a few apps that time the 20 seconds perfectly, so they tell you when to start and stop in the particular song that you want to wash your hands to. So yeah, but what I love in all of this is the new, as we had discussed earlier, the new ways that we've learned how to connect with people, and how important some of the small things are, like connecting with friends, and the little things that we take for granted, like how free we used to be.
Yeah. And with that, I would just like to thank Shannon for joining me tonight. It's always lovely when I get to hang out with
I
you.
miss you. Thank you so much. Thank you to Eleanor and for the Read2Me TT initiative. This is really wonderful, and perhaps it's something that we can continue doing even after this is all over, because it's really lovely to connect in this way.
Yeah, for everyone who wants to follow along for stories, young and old, young and hard, you can follow Read to Me. I've pinned their Instagram. It's read number two me underscore TT. And you can find them on Instagram. There's a story every night with some interesting people that I love learning about these stories as much as I love learning about the narrators. Thank you to Priya and Adrian. Adrian Don Mora is one of the voices that I grew up with in my kitchen with the radio, and my mom was in love with his voice. Thank you both for telling the first part of this story. And again, thank you, Mohammed, for telling this beautiful story. I kind of want more. I kept turning the pages of my thing like, all right, this can't be where we end. Where's the rest of it?
Yeah, so beautiful. Anyway,
And I
have
write as well, so you can find me on Wattpad, and you'll be able to see the stuff I'm writing. I'm writing a book about local folklore and a sci-fi novel at the same time, because clearly I'm a crazy person.
Ian is amazingly talented at everything he does. Well, thank you again, and thank you for joining us, everyone. Have a good night and sleep tight, and tune in to Read to Me TT for their next story time. Good night.
Bye.